Before we start this video, do like and subscribe to our channel and not miss on any updates.
Hello everyone. Let's start with the discussion of a revision test paper of CA Foundation Paper 2 Business Laws. So let's begin with the revision test paper. So the first question is from Indian Regulatory Framework. It is a very straightforward and a direct question. Let's have a look at it. So this question says, what do you understand by Indian judicial system? So this question says, what do you understand by Indian judicial system and what are its various functions? So talking about what do we understand by the Indian judicial system, it is basically a dispute resolution. It basically emphasizes on dispute resolution. And what are its various functions? Its various functions include resolving disputes and also has interpretation functions into it. So a straightforward question and not much to be discussed here because it is basically talking about what is the judicial system and what are its various functions. So a simple question. So let's move ahead. Question number 2, which says Mr. Path applied for a job as a principal of a school. The school management decided to appoint him. One member of the school management committee privately informed him. So it is not the school management who is informing Mr. Path, but rather it is the member of the management committee who is privately informing Mr. Path. There's no official communication. Mr. Path that he was appointed, but official communication was not given by the school. So there's no official communication. Later, the management of the school decided to appoint someone else as the principal. Mr. Parth, he filed a suit against the school for cancellation of his appointment and he claimed damages for loss of salary. So here you have to state with reasons whether Parth will be successful in the suit filed against the school by him. So now as per the Indian Contract Act, if you all remember that the acceptance has to be communicated by the offerer. The acceptance has to be communicated and the acceptance has to be communicated in a proper manner. The communication of acceptance has to be in a proper manner and it has to be given by the person to whom the offer was made. The person to whom the offer was made has the power to accept it. And also here in this particular situation, the communication is being made to Mr. Path by some insider person, which means there's no official communication, which means here the communication of school appointing Mr. Path as one of their as their principal is not a proper communication of acceptance, and that is the reason why here in this particular situation Mr. Path will not succeed in the suit which he has filed against the school and he will not be able to claim any damages from the school. Moving ahead. Question number 4. So Rahul was a disc jockey at a 5-star hotel. As per the contract, he is supposed to perform every weekend. Rahul will be paid rupees 2,500 per day. So Rahul is a DJ in a 5-star hotel and he'll be paid 2,500 per day and he's supposed to perform twice a week, that is every weekend. However, after a month of working, what happens is Rahul willfully does not come, absents himself from the performance. Taking into account the provisions of Contract Act, answer the following. So here, this particular situation is identical to something which we have seen under Section 39 of the Indian Contract Act, wherein a person he does not perform the promise which he is obligated to do, what would be the consequences? So the first question here is, does the hotel have the right to end a contract? So yes, definitely the hotel has the right to end a contract, they can terminate the contract. Second point says, if the hotel sends out a mail to Rahul that they are interested to continue the contract and Rahul accepts, can the hotel resign the contract after a month on this ground subsequently? So again, as per Section 39, if the hotel, they continue the contract, they signify their interest in continuance of the contract with Rahul, then later they cannot resign the contract on the similar ground. So here in this situation, if the hotel is signifying their interest in continuance of the contract, then they cannot resign the contract on this grounds after a month. Then the third point asks, in which of the case termination or continuance can the hotel claim damages that it has suffered because of the breach? So in both the situation, whether the hotel is terminating the contract or whether they are continuing the contract, in both the cases, they can claim damages for the breach which has happened. Moving on. Mr. Sanjay Kothari was a big businessman having two sons and one married daughter. He decided to gift his house to his daughter. For this purpose, he called his lawyer at his house and made a written document for such gift. So there's a written document which has been made. The lawyer advised him to get the transfer document properly registered. When they both were going for registration, they meet with an accident and both of them died. Later, the daughter found the document and claimed the house on the basis of that document. Now, whether she can get the gift under the Contract Act or not. Now, in this particular situation, we have understood that if a person is transferring something out of natural love and affection, then there's no consideration required. The contract will be valid even if there's no consideration. However, the contract has to be in writing and also has to be registered under law. In the given situation, the contract is in writing, however, it is not registered under law, as a result of which, in this particular situation, the doctor she cannot claim the house, she cannot get the house as a gift. Had the contract been registered under law, then yes, the daughter could have claimed the house as a gift, but not in this particular situation. Moving on. Mr. Ayush, the employer, induced his employee, Mr. Bobby, to sell his one-room flat to him at less than the market value to secure promotion. So what is happening here? There's one party who is in dominant position and they are using their dominant position to take unfair advantage of the other party, which means this is a case of undue influence. This is a case of undue influence. So Mr. Bobby, he sold the flat to Mr. Ayush. Later on, Mr. Bobby, he changed his mind and decided to sue Mr. Ayush. Examine the validity of contract as per the provision. So in this particular situation, Ayush, being an employer, he is in a dominant position and he uses his dominant position to induce Mr. Bobby to sell his flat at a price lesser than the market value. So now in this particular situation, the contract is voidable in nature, and since the contract is voidable in nature, the aggrieved party here, which is Mr. Bobby, he can uh, he can change his mind and he can also sue Mr. Ayush and he can claim his house back, claim his flat back. Since the contract is voidable at the option of the aggrieved party, the party who suffers. Moving on. Mr. Suraj promises to Mr. Manoj to paint a family picture for rupees 20,000 and assures to complete the assignment by 15th March 23. Unfortunately, he dies in an accident on 1st of March and his assignment remains undone. Now, this is a situation wherein the contract requires personal skill of the person, which is painting. Now not everyone can paint. Here, the contract requires personal skill. Now, the question is asking, can Mr. Manoj bind the legal representative of Mr. Suraj for the promise which has been made by him? So in this situation, since the contract requires personal skill, Mr. Manoj cannot bind the legal representatives of Mr. Suraj in this particular situation. Suppose Mr. Suraj had promised to deliver some photographs to Mr. Manoj on 15th March against a payment of 10,000, but he dies before that. Then in that situation, will the legal representatives be bound to deliver the photographs? So yes, here they'll be bound to deliver the photographs because delivery of photographs does not require any personal skill. So in the first situation, the answer was no. Mr. Suraj, since he has died, Mr. Manoj cannot claim the picture from legal representatives. However, when it comes to photographs, yes, he can definitely claim the photographs from his legal representatives. Now, the next question is, explain the term quasi-contracts and state their characteristics. So quasi-contract is basically an agreement which does not have all the essential element of agreement present there. It is a contract which comes into picture because of some legal obligation. Law has made that contract. Law has enforced an obligation on some person, and that is the reason why it has come into picture. So again, a direct question. So let's move on to the next one. Prakash reaches a sweet shop and asks for 1 kg of barfi if the sweets are fresh. So he asks for barfi and he also asks if the sweets are fresh. So the seller replies that all my sweets are fresh and are of good quality. So Prakash, he agrees to buy on condition that he first taste one piece of barfi to check the quality. So now since Prakash is tasting the sweet here, this becomes a case of sale by sample. This becomes a case of sale by sample. But the seller gives him one piece to taste. On finding the quality is good, he asks the seller to pack the barfi. On reaching the house, Prakash finds the barfi stale and not fresh. So after going home, he finds out that the barfi is not fresh. While the piece tasted was fresh. While what he tasted was fresh. Now Prakash wants to avoid the contract and return the barfi to the seller. Can he do so? In this particular situation, this is a case of sale by sample, and we have understood that in case of sale by sample, the bulk should correspond with the sample in quality. The quality of bulk should be as good as the quality of sample which was given. However, it did not happen here in this particular case, so Prakash does have the right to avoid the contract and he can also return the barfi to the seller. Will your answer be different if Prakash does not taste the sweet? Now, in this particular situation, if Prakash did not taste the barfi, but he still asked the shopkeeper if his sweets are fresh. So, this could have been in the case of sale by description. And in case of sale by description, as you are describing your product has to be in that manner only. So in this particular case, again, Prakash can avoid the contract and he can return the barfi because this is a case of sale by description and the goods should match with the description which was given. That is, the barfi has to be fresh. The sweets shall be fresh and shall not be stale. Moving on. Ekansh purchased a television set from Arvind, who is the owner of Gada Electronics, on the condition that first 3 days he check its quality and if he's satisfied, he'll pay. Otherwise, he'll return the television set. So this is a particular situation where the goods are sent on approval or return basis. On the second day, the television set was spoiled due to an earthquake. Arvind demands the price of television set from Ekansh, whether Ekansh is liable to pay the price under the Sale of Goods Act. Now, in this particular situation, when the goods are sold by on approval or return basis, then the property transfers only and only after the person has given his approval or he keeps the goods with himself for a time more than the reasonable time, or he does something which acts as his approval, which signifies his approval. However, in this particular situation, Ekansh did not do any such thing. So, which means the property in the television set, that is the ownership of the television set, has not yet transferred to Ekansh. And we know that risk passes with ownership. So, in this particular situation, Ekansh will not be liable for the loss which has happened to the television set. The loss bearer in this particular situation will be Arvind only and not Ekansh because the property in goods has not yet been transferred. Moving on, Mr. Arun contracted to sell his Swift car to Mr. Nikhil. Both missed to discuss the price of the said Swift car. Later, Mr. Arun refused to sell his car to Nikhil on the ground that the agreement was void because there was an uncertainty about the price. Does Mr. Nikhil have any right against Arun under the Sale of Goods Act 1930? So in this particular situation, there's a contract to sell Swift car. However, both the buyer and the seller, they did not agree upon a price. However, under Section 9 of the Indian Contract, under Section 9 of the Sale of Goods Act 1930, we have understood that even if the price is not fixed, then in that particular situation, they can either go to a third party and ask that third party to fix the price, or a price which is customary in that particular type of transaction will be deemed to be the price of this particular transaction as well. So in this particular situation as well, Mr. Nikhil, he can enforce the contract, and the contract does not become void just because there's no price which has been entered into the contract. The price here would be the price which is there in the normal course of business, which is paid for in this particular kind of situation in the normal course of business. Moving on. Mr. Shankar sold 1000 kgs of wheat to Mr. Ganesh on credit of 3 months. So there's a credit period of 3 months. Wheat was to be delivered after 10 days of contract. After 5 days of contract, a friend of Mr. Shankar secretly informed him that Mr. Ganesh may make a default in payment. So a friend of Mr. Shankar, the seller, he informs him that your buyer may make a default in the payment. Now, on the information of friend, Mr. Shankar applied the right to lien and withheld the delivery. Right to lien basically is retaining the possession of the goods and withholding the delivery of the goods. With referring to the provisions of Sale of Goods Act, state whether Mr. Shankar was right in his decision. So in this particular situation, we have to determine whether Mr. Shankar is right in his decision or not. So what has happened in this particular situation? What has happened in this particular situation? In this particular situation, goods were sold, and Mr. Ganesh, he purchased 1000 kg of wheat from Mr. Shankar on 3 months of credit. Delivery had to happen after 10 days. However, after 5 days, a friend of Mr. Shankar informs him that Mr. Ganesh may make a default in the payment. Now, in this particular situation, we can call Mr. Shankar as an unpaid seller. He is an unpaid seller. However, he'll be termed as an unpaid seller only after the expiry of the credit period. Until and unless the credit period expires, we will not call him as an unpaid seller. He is an unpaid seller. However, he will have to perform the promise which he has made, that is the promise of supplying 1000 kg of wheat. However, in a situation However, the second point asks us, what would be your answer if Mr. Ganesh became insolvent within the 5 days? Now, if the buyer has become insolvent, then yes, the seller can exercise his right to lien and withholding delivery. And if he has already parted possession with the goods, he can also exercise his right of stoppage in transit. So, in the first case, Mr. Shankar will have to make the supply. However, in the second case, where the buyer has become insolvent, in that situation, Mr. Shankar can definitely exercise his right to lien. Moving on. Moni and Tony were partners in the firm Messrs. Moto and Company. They admitted Sony as a partner in the firm, and he's actively engaged in day-to-day activities of the firm, so which means Mr. Sony is a working partner. There is a tradition in the firm that all active partner, they get a remuneration of rupees 20,000, but no express agreement was made. So it is a customary practice. There's no express agreement. However, there's a practice which is followed. After admission of Sony in the firm, Moni and Tony continued getting salary, but no salary was given to Sony for the firm. So the old partner, they continued receiving salary. However, the new partner did not receive any salary for the firm. Now, Sony, he claimed his remuneration but denied by the existing partner, saying that there was no express agreement for that. Now, in this particular situation, whether Sony can claim the remuneration for the firm or not. Now, in this case, we know that there's no obligation to pay any remuneration to the partner. There's no such responsibility in case of partnership. However, if it is a usage of trade, if it is a customary practice in the business to pay certain amount of remuneration to the working partners, then yes, in this particular situation, Sony is also entitled to receive that amount of remuneration which is being paid to the other partners in the business. Moving on. Mr. Ram and Mr. Rahim are working as teachers in Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar Higher Secondary School and are also very good friends. They jointly purchased a flat. So they have purchased a flat jointly, which was given on rent to Mr. John. It was decided between landlords and tenant that the rent would be 10,000 rupees per month, inclusive of electricity bill. So the rent would be 10,000 inclusive of the electricity bill. It means electricity bill will be paid by the landlords. The landlords will pay the bill. The landlords by mistake did not pay the electricity bill for the month of March 21. Due to this, electricity department cut the connection. Now, Mr. John had to pay the bill of 2,800 and 200 as a penalty to resume the electricity connection. Mr. John claimed rupees 3,000 from Mr. Ram, but Mr. Ram replied that he is only liable for rupees 1,500. Mr. John said that Mr. Ram and Mr. Rahim are partners, therefore he can claim the full amount from any of the partners. Explain whether there is a partnership and Mr. Ram is liable to pay the whole amount to Mr. John. So in this particular situation, Ram and Rahim, they just co-owned a flat. This is a case of co-ownership and this is not a case of partnership. And since Mr. Ram and Rahim were co-owners of the flat, in this particular situation, whatever is the profit or loss, whatever is the rent, they divided between them equally, and whatever are the expenses related to that particular property will also be divided between them either equally or depending on what has been decided by them in their particular contract. Now, in this particular situation, Mr. Ram is not liable to pay the entire amount to Mr. John. However, the liability of Mr. Ram is only to the extent of 1,500 and the remaining 1,500 will have to be paid by Mr. Rahim. Moving on, X and Y were partners in a firm. The firm was dissolved on 12th of June. So there's dissolution of firm which has happened, but no public notice was given. Dissolution happened, but no public notice was given. Thereafter, X purchased some goods in the firm's name from Z. Z was ignorant of the fact of the dissolution. X became insolvent. Z filed a suit against Y for recovery of his debt amount. State with reasons whether Y would be liable under the provisions of the Indian Partnership Act 1932. So in this particular situation, what has happened? There is dissolution happening, however, no public notice is given. And until and unless public notice is not given, the partners are still liable to the third parties, because the third parties, they believe that the partner is still the person is still a partner in the partnership, and that is the reason why they invest in their money. So in this particular situation also, Y would be liable, and the reason being the firm has dissolved but no public notice was, and that is the reason why the liability still exists. Moving on. A, B, and C are partners in a partnership firm carrying on the business of construction of apartments. So there is construction business. B, who himself was a wholesale dealer of iron bars, was entrusted with the work of selection of iron bars after examining the quality. So B has a separate business also, which is dealing in iron bars. As a wholesaler, B is aware of the market conditions. Current market price of iron bar for construction is INR 350 per kilogram. We already had 1000 kg of iron bars in stock, which he had purchased before price hike in the market for INR 200 per kg. He supplied iron bars to the firm without the firm realizing the purchase cost. Is B liable to pay the firm extra money which he made, or he doesn't have to inform the firm, as it is his own business and he has not taken any amount from the prevailing market of rupees 130? Assume no contract has been made between the partners regarding the above. Now, in a situation like this, what has to be done? According to section 16 of the Partnership Act 1932, a partner, he cannot make any personal profits. And if the partner is making any personal profits, then he shall account for the profits in the name of the firm. That is, whatever personal profit he has done, he should transfer that personal profit to in the name of the firm. And that is what has been done here. So the price at which Mr. B purchased the iron bars was 200. However, he sold it to the company for 350. So in this particular situation, the difference of 150, the gain which is there here, that has to be accounted by Mr. B to the firm. That has to be given by Mr. B to the firm. Moving on. State the modes by which a partner may transfer his interest in the firm in favor of another person. What are the rights of such a transferee? So here this particular question asks us that what are the modes by which a person can transfer his interest in a partnership? How can a person transfer his interest in a partnership? So this question is based on section 29, which says that a share in the partnership is a transferable share like any other property. However, there has to be mutual confidence between the partnership in the partnership relationship, and also there has to be certain different tasks which have been assigned. So transfer is possible. Yes, partnership, the share in partnership is transferable like any other property. Now, what are the rights of such a transferee? The rights would say that during the continuance, the transferee, he cannot interfere in the business. He cannot inspect the books of account of the firm. He cannot do any other thing. He is only entitled to receive his share. However, when the firm dissolves, in that particular situation, the transferee, he is entitled to his portion of the assets and the profit when the firm is dissolving. However, during the continuance, he can only claim the share in profit and do nothing else. Moving on. A and B were friends. Now they have plans of setting up a supermarket in their locality. They are confused as to whether to register as a traditional partnership or as a limited liability partnership. As an advisor, enumerate the differences between two forms of business, highlighting compliance and other legal requirements. So here, it is a very simple and a straightforward question, which is asking you to write down the differences between a limited liability partnership and a partnership firm. So they've just added 1, 2, 3 lines of case study just to make it look like there's something else which they have asked. However, it is a very straightforward question wherein you have to write what are the differences between LLP and a partnership firm. Moving on. Mr. Dhruv was appointed as an employee of Sun Moon Timber Private Limited on the condition that if he were to leave his employment, he will not solicit customers of the company. After some time, he was fired from the company. He set up his own business under proprietorship and undercut Sun Moon Timber Private Limited's prices. On the legal advice from his legal consultant and to refrain from the provisions of breach of contract, he formed a new company under the name Seven Stars Timber Private Limited. In this company, his wife and friend, Mr. Dhruv, were the sole shareholders and director. They took over Dhruv's business and continued it. Sun Moon Timber Private Limited filed suit against Seven Stars Timber Private Limited for violation of contract. Seven Stars, the company argued that the contract was entered into between Mr. Dhruv and Sun Moon. Timber Private Limited as a company has separate legal entity. Seven Stars Timber Private Limited has not violated the terms of agreement. Explain with reasons whether separate legal entity between Mr. Dhruv and Seven Stars Timber Private Limited will be disregarded. So here in this particular situation, the company has been incorporated only with one intention, and that is to avoid taxes. Now, in this particular situation, the company has been started in order to evade tax, in order to not perform some certain legal obligations. So, which means in this particular, so it means that in this particular situation, we'll apply the case law of Guilford Motor Co. versus Horn. And in this particular situation, it says that where a company, private limited company, has been formed just in order to evade taxes, in order to evade any obligations, then in that situation, the company is a complete sham. So which means Seven Stars Timber Private Limited is a sham company, and the separate legal entity between Mr. Dhruv and Seven Stars Timber Limited, it would be disregarded. There shouldn't be any relationship between Mr. Dhruv and the company. Moving on. AK Private Limited had borrowed 36,000, sorry. AK Private Limited had borrowed 36 crore from BK Finance Limited. However, as per memorandum, they could buy an amount of 30 crores only. They could borrow an amount of 30 crores only. Whether the AK Private Limited is liable to pay his debt, state the remedy, if any, available to BK Finance Limited. Now, in this particular situation, this is based on doctrine of ultra wires. This is based on doctrine of ultra wires. There was a limit to the purchasing, to the borrowing authority, which was 30 crores. However, this increased from 30 crores to 36 crores. So now in this particular situation, what can the company do? So the contract here in this particular case, do you think it is a valid contract? Do you think in a case like this, the contract will be a valid contract? This case is based on the doctrine of ultra wires, and which says that when a contract is made with a company, then and it is beyond the powers of the memorandum of association, then in that situation it's totally null and void. It is not having any operations and it is inoperative. And in this particular situation, first case, whether AK Private Limited is liable to pay the debt, then they borrowed 36 crores. However, BK Finance's borrowing power was rupees 30 crore. Hence, the contract of borrowing rupees 30 crores, which was ultra wires, it is void. AK Private Limited is not void, therefore liable to pay the debt. So that is how the thing will happen. And they've also asked, state the remedy, if any, available to BK Finance Limited. So is there any remedy which is available to BK Finance Limited? So BK Finance Limited cannot enforce the transaction directly, and they also do not have any specific remedy for it. However, they can take action against the directors of the AK Private Limited and make it a personal liability of directors, and to restore all the borrowed funds. And apart from this, BK Finance Limited can also get an injunction order from the court and put a hold on the proceedings which are happening. Moving on. Mike LLC incorporated in Singapore, having office in Pune. Analyze whether Mike LLC would be called a foreign company. So yes, a company incorporated outside India and having a place of business in India is definitely called as a foreign company. As per provisions of Companies Act 2013, also explain the meaning of foreign company. So in this particular situation, you first have to write the meaning of foreign company. That is a company which is incorporated outside India and has a place of business in India. So in this particular situation, Mike LLC, which is incorporated in Singapore and has an office in Pune, is a company incorporated outside India. So which means, yes, it is a foreign company. And you also have to explain the meaning of foreign company. So basically, writing down the definition of foreign company. So this was it with respect to the revision test papers. I hope you've understood this, and I hope all of you are preparing very well for your examination. If you need any help or any guidance at any point in time, you can reach out to us on forums, and we'll be there happy to help and solve all your queries.